Masechta Zevachim, Lamed Vav, Amud Aleph. We're starting from Lamed Hey, Amud Beis, the Mishnah, which is 3 lines in the bottom. Shechatei Amanas Lahaniach Es Damai, O Yemurav Lamacha Elitzin Lachutz. If he shachted the carbon with the machshava, 4 lines on the bottom, with the machshava to shelf the blood or the emurim, the fats, for tomorrow, or to take it outside. Outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's not pigel because pigel requires something that has to do with you're going to eat it after, or you're going to spray the blood after, or you're going to do something shalei lishma. Here, it's not pigel. He said, I'm shelving the blood for till tomorrow. I'm putting away the blood for tomorrow. I'm putting away the emurim till tomorrow. Or he took it outside. This is absul. Whatever carbon it is, but he did it for after the time, but not to spray the blood. That's not the machshav. The machshav was, I want to put it away, hold it. No, he didn't do it for any. He didn't have any avidah, any achila. We're going to see what the conditions of pigel, what it requires to become pigel. We'll see at the end. Rabbi Yehuda says, I don't care if the machshava wasn't for the achila, the achila that the person eats from the carbon, or the achila that the mizbeach consumes from the carbon. And he said, still going to be possible. Chacham say, if he didn't have a machshava for achilas adam or achilas mizbeach, it's not going to be possible. Sagt the Mishnah weiter, Amanas litnon al gabi hakevesh. If he had in mind to place the blood of the karbanes on the ramp, right? It's the wrong place. Instead of putting it, spraying the blood on the mizbeach itself, or on the walls of the mizbeach, on the ramp. The ramp is not the mizbeach. The ramp is ein shtickle, and then the mizbeach with the 4 quarters of the piece. He had in mind to put it on the ramp, and shaloi connect that yisod, and then not even against where the yisod was. Because if you remember, I showed you there was only 2 walls and a little bit with a foundation on 2 sides, but on the other 2 sides, third side only a drop. But the 1 3/4 didn't have a foundation. It has to be sprayed against the foundation. And then whatever had to be placed, the blood had to be sprayed above the chut hasikar. There was a red line that went around the mizbeach. So the chatais and the shlamim went above the red line, and all the other kabbanis went on the bottom. So those bloods that had to be sprayed up, he had machshava on the bottom. That's aditam lamata lamaylan, and what had to be lamata, he had machshava lamayla. That's anitonim bifnim bachutz, and or he had a machshava to place the mei hachatos, right? On the mizbeach hachitze, where it was really supposed to be the mizbeach hapnimi. That's anitonim bachutz, and or you had in mind the blood that of all the other kabbanis, which is als fakir. Fakir.
Go straight.
Right. As we can gain krum, it was not gain gleich. So he says. So he had in mind to throw the blood of the other kabbanis, which is normally sprayed up mizbeach hachitze. He had in mind for the mizbeach hapnimi, or sheyechlu tmeim. He had in mind that tmeim the people should eat, or sheyechlu tmeim, or that who should bring the carbon. There's somebody that does for the yomit for shachris achiyuv. There is somebody. Okay.
There's
sheyechlu tmeim.
He's finishing up in 2 weeks, so.
Or he had in mind Abanas that people who are tummy should bring the carbon on the mizbeach. Or he had in mind who should eat the carbon nishken gemalata, because there were people that weren't circumcised because of sakana. Or he had in mind that the arelim should be makivit, which is also also
What do you mean,
to bring the carbon. Kahanim who are arelim. So you want to lishber atzmis pesach, or to break the bones of the pesach. It says etzem loy sishberu by the carbon pesach, and he had a mind to break it, or he had a mind to eat it raw. And the Torah says, listen, it has to be ki im tzli. So a lot of them, or to mix the blood of bedam apsulim with those blood that which was not with the right kavanah, it was with pigul blood. Kosher, it's kosher. She'ei machshava peiseles ela bechutz lizmanei, because the machshava of pigul doesn't passel a carbon only if it's bechutz lizmanei, if it's after the designated time for the carbon to be able to spray the blood. Bechutz l'mkaimei. This is, of course, if he had a mind, it should be outside. Let's say outside the Beis Hamikdash, outside the walls of Yerushalayim, depending which carbon it is. That he had the wrong machshava when he brought the carbon Pesach. He had, let's say, my chatas, or the reverse, or Shlomo. It doesn't make a list. Shloi Lishman. If it's Shloi Lishman, it's going to be puzzle. But I think it's only Pesach chatas Shloi Lishman. All the other machshavas are not going to passel. I mean, all the other machshavas of the other karbanes, he says all the other machshavas are not going to passel. Okay. So, my time, Rabbi Yehuda. What is the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda that passels by these machshavas, which is not pigul? It doesn't have the qualifications of machshavas pigul. Yeah, it says Rabbi Yehuda paisel. If he had a mind just to shelf it, or to take it outside, but nothing to do with achila, nothing to do with the spraying the blood or the mizbeach consuming nothing. Yeah, says the Gemara. He answers, the reason is for Rabbi Yehuda, because take two psukim that are written in the Torah b'neisa. By the carbon Pesach, by Noisa, it says Loisa Sidim Memanat Beika. And then because of by the carbon Taida, it says also Lo Yanich Memanat Beika. So im Eina Inilaniach, if you're not talking about the regular Noisa, because you already have two psukim for Noisa, Tnayu Leinya Machshavas Hinuach. So use it for Machshava. There was talking about, the pasuk was talking about actual Noisa, leaving it over. So that we know is also from one. You don't need two psukim to tell us. So what was the second one come to tell us? That even if he didn't actually leave it over, just he had the machshava, it's also considered puzzle. That's why Rabbi Yehuda apostles. That if he had a mind shchita to shelve the blood or to shelve the emurim, the carbon becomes puzzle. In fact, Rabbi Yehuda, this puzzle come to teach us the limit that we just said, that for machshavas pigul, I mean not machshavas pigul, for machshavas hinuach, that it's going to be considered as a machshava that puzzles the carbon. I'm a bayilated Tanya. We need the extra puzzle for this. It says ufsar zevach toida shlomov, b'yom kabani yachol lo yahanich mimanu ad beika. So lamadnu leteidas and achelas liyem alayla. We learn out from this pasuk that a carbon teida is consumed for 1 day and 1 night. That's it. Chalipin, and the exchange of the teida. Let's say he made an exchange, also is for 1 day and 1 night. Blood days. It's the same thing. Chalipin, there was an exchange. Tmura means okay. So blood days. If it had children. The children also Yom Balayla. Tmures of a carbon taida is also the din is going to be both karbanes are going to be Yom Balayla. Menayin. How do we know that it's not Chol Yom Balayla and not more? Tamalenu Uvesar. It says the word Uvesar. The taida could have written very short. Taida b'Yom Kabana Yachel. That's it. The Psar, the Zevach, the Shlomov are extra words. We have 3 extra words. So Psar is telling us the chalipin of the Teda, the velades and the tmures are liyem balayla. Chatas v'asham enayim. How do we know that by a carbon chatas v'asham it's only liyem balayla? Tamad lena zevach, because that's also extra. Uvasar zevach and the shlamav we said is extra. It could have said Teda b'yem kabanei ye'achel. So the Gemara, so we learn a chatas v'asham the extra word zevach. Menayim l'rabbis shalmei nazir. A regular shalmei is 2 days and 1 night. Shalmei nazir is similar to a Toida because it's brought with Chalis. Menayin L'Rabbi Shalmei Nazav Shalmei Pesach, which we by the Shalmei Pesach we're referring to the Chagiga, which is also brought like a carbon Toida with Chalis. How do we know that's one day, one night? Talmud Leim Shlamav. It says the extra word Shlamav. So that's how we know that it's one day, one night. A regular Shlamim is 2 days. Rashi says a regular Shlamim is 2 days and one night. But here it's going to be by Shalmei Naz and Shalmei Pesach. It's going to be 1 day and 1 night because why? He says Shalmei Naz and Shalmei Pesach come with lechem like the Shalmei Teda. That's why it's 1 day, 1 night. Okay, but chalos or the kikim sheba nazir. And what about the chalos and the wafers of a nazir? How do we know those are 1 day and 1 night? Says even not midnight. How do we know it's shenecholum leyem b'layla? Talmud lemer kabane. The extra word kabane. It says ubesar zevach shlamav, and then it says b'yoyim kabane yachel. It should have said b'yoyim yachel lo yanich. Why do you need the word kabane? Okay, says Gemara now, Kulan, by all these kabbanas, all of them are, you can't leave it till the morning, it's only for Yom Balayla. That's what we learned out from all these limudim. If the pasuk only comes to teach us that it's for Yom Balayla, let the pasuk say, Lo Seisiru Mimanad Baika, my Lo Yaniach. It's a different lashon. Why did he change the lashon to Lo Yaniach?
What's the difference in two? They sound the same,
no? No, say Sidu is
Sidu
is the normal lashon. He brings a whole bunch of psukim. It says by all the kabbalas like say Sidu. Over here is the first time it says Lo Yanich. He changed the lashon. What's the purpose? So he says if he's not coming to tell you about the regular inyan of Naisa, inyan Machshav Sinuach. So that's what the answer is. So the Gemara answers for Rabbi Yehuda, because we asked the kasha. You said the extra pasuk comes to tell you lehinuach alone that he had in mind to just shelve it, to put it away. It should be a apostle. From where do you know it? So we said because of these two psukim, but we said that we need the second pasuk to tell you that all these karbanos are for Yom Halayla. So how do we know just for hinuach it's going to be apostle? From which pasuk? Says Yimana because he changed the lashon from Leisesiru to Leyaniyah. Right. We learned it for a different limit, for all these other kabbanis. So he says because of the change of the lashon, that's where we learn out. If he had machshava hinoch, it's going to pass the come. Yes. Frankly, this makes sense for shelving. The psul of shelving he has in mind to put it away for tomorrow. You have a raya from this pasuk. Because it says lo yaniach instead of lo yisasiru, that's how we know. In fact, you want to help out lahoitzi. How do we know if he had in mind to take it out of its place? The lahoitzi just to take him. Yeah, lahoitzi is mechutz l'mekayma. My chutz. There's a isa chutz. What's this ma'ik l'meima? What kind of psul is that? The pasuk lo yaniach only told us about
where it is in place, and now they'll leave it over the night.
Right. So, but how do we know that the machshavas hitzov chutz? It's called the isa chutz. Where's the makkah for that apostle with such a machshava? And even more so, you brought a pasuk to teach me that hinuach apostles from a pasuk. He says, "Time of Rabbi Yehuda is svaru." The hinuach is apostles from a svara. The Tanya that we learned in the Brayso, I'm going to have Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Iya, atem meidim she'imehinichu lemacha." If a person took the blood and put it in a closet and left it there till tomorrow, isn't it going to be possible? Yes. So if it's bepeil mamish, if he does it, it's possible. Then automatically mashava, such a mashava is apostles it.
How does he go from machshava to bepeil?
That's how he says. He says if bepeil mamish it's possible, then the machshava should possible. That's his father. I think Gemara is going to have a problem with that soon. One second. Right. Says Gemara, all the time Rabbi Yehuda only. So the Gemara concludes. Oh, so the reason Rabbi Yehuda is takas svara. So just like by hanocha, you base it on a svara. If you would put it away for after this man, the carbon would be possible. So therefore, machshava passes it. The isa of chutz is known. If you take it outside the Beis Hamikdash, right? we know it's possible. So such a machshava, automatically the Svara says, if Bepoil Mamish, or Rabbi Yehuda says, if something Bepoil Mamish is possible, then the machshava is possible. That's a shita. In fact, you want to help, that's your shita. Now we have a lot of more that machshava should help. We said only by those two, Rabbi Yehuda says such a machshava apostles the carbon. But if he had in mind all the other ones, by Nitan Lamayla, Nitan Lamata, all the other cases, it's not possible. In fact, you wonder why not? And if Rabbi Yehuda be cool. By all these cases, Bepoil Mamish it's possible, so the machshava should be possible. Why did he only argue by these two cases on the Chachamim when it came to Hinachu or Hoitza? Says the Gemara, which one do you want he should argue with? You want he should, by a machshava that he had in mind to break the bones on Pesach, become basically that's like Sishru. We know you're not allowed. If you're not allowed, so the machshava should be awesome. Rabbi Yehuda admits the machshava does not say, or to eat it raw. It says kim tzli eish. Such a machshava should have possible it also. You're saying if Bepoil Mamish is possible, should possible. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Zivcha guf mifsil. It doesn't become possible. If he broke the bone, it doesn't possibly come in Pesach. They had some come Pesach.
You should break his teeth.
No, but he says these maisim do not possibly come in Pesach Limafreya from being able to be a carbon kosher. Okay? Says the Gemara, are you going to say, okay, let's say that Tmeim, he had in mind that the Talmudic people should be able to eat this basar carbon. Or v'shakivu Tmeim. Yeah, but we know Tmeim cannot be makaber carbon. So if they can, so the mashava should be possible also. So over here he says the mashava doesn't possible. He agrees with the Chachamim, Rabbi Yehuda. Chayde should say it's possible. V'shakivu Tmeim, the same thing that Tmeim should be makaber carbon. Says you want to. That's what you want. He should argue and say the mashava is possible because Bepoil Mamish apostles the carbon. Says you want to go for me mitzil. If the carbon itself does not become possible from forgiving the person, if Bepoil Mamish Tmeim ate from the carbon, doesn't possible. The person is forgiven. Yeah, Tmeim are not allowed to eat it. But they did the Aveda, but doesn't possible the carbon. So since these mice and these actions do not possible the carbon, so such machshava cannot possible the carbon. Oh, so he says, you want to say he had in mind that the Arelim should eat it, or the Arelim should be mock of it. So says the Gemara, that doesn't pass the carbon either. If the carbon was eaten by Arelim, it's not mafsil the carbon milamafreya. It doesn't go retroactive. Hour later, finished. Or he burned the murim. It doesn't make it possible. The carbon is still kosher. Lishnach, another lashon is kolkim. What? By the case that sheyachlu arelim or sheyachlu tmeim, it says Gemara, does the sheikh at the time that when he was shechting, he had in mind that tmeim or arelim should eat the baso, or should the kahanim tmeim or the kahanim arelim should eat or burn the murim? How could you think it's something that's tali b'acherim? Who says the acherim will listen to him? No, every not every acher is going to go and do Aveda. No, who's going to listen? So, yeah, it's a fantasy, right? A fantosh machen nicht kein machshavs mit psulim. Yeah, he has in mind that a plane should fly into the. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Says the Gemara, le'inyan the machshava abanas la'arav daman. But again, he had in mind that this blood should get mixed with which blood? With dam apsulim, with the dam that was pigel. Okay. So Rabbi Yehuda Tamei, Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reasoning. That's not going to be possible either. Ein dam mevatel dam. I think we had it before. So one blood, it's the same min. It's not going to be mevatel, even though there's a reiv of pigel dam or reiv of blood. Right. Even though there's atrapinke from the kosher blood, that's enough to be machshir and be mechaper. And you use it as a kapara. Litin as a
blood does not
affect it, right? There we were talking about that it didn't go through a klishonis. The blood went directly to the floor. Okay, and with the gate to the machshava litin, the blood es haniton l'mayla lamata. He had in mind that the blood that has to go under the chut hasikra, under that red line that went around was red, that should go on top. Oh, for chatas, right? And oila, and lamata lamayla he had. Rabbi Yehuda tamei, tama shalei limkayme, not limkayme karina bay. Rabbi Yehuda is of the shita, even if you spray the blood in the wrong place, the right place. But the other, it's fine.
As a maker, the guy.
He's a maker. Okay, okay, good.
No, it has a thought. They say it's on the Mizbeach.
That's it. It says no. Lechatchila try to go for the right place, and then lechatchila, and if it didn't, it's fine. In fact, you might have a leaf let Rabbi Yehuda argue b'nitana b'fnim shenisan b'chutz that if it was meant to be placed in the mizbeach happening, and he did it outside, v'nitana b'chutz shenisan b'fnim. So over there, see, is the chatas chitzayna. The din is that has to be placed on the mizbeach hachitzayn. So it should become pasul, right? So such a machshav should be. We know it's pasul. If you took the blood of the chitzaynis and placed it b'fnim, that's also there's also isa achnasa, just like isa itzah, which is aser. So it's pasul. So such a machshav should be pasul. Why wouldn't Rabbi Yehuda agree there and argue with the chacham? And for the Yonah Chasav Rabbi Yehuda says in order to pasul a carbon chutz l'mkaimai, there's 3 requirements if it's in the wrong place. In order that it should be considered b'machshava pigul, there are 3 conditions. Be'inan makom shehei meshulish, it has to be a place which consists of 3 things: bedam, bebasa, or be'imurim. It has to be roi, that at the time that they were able to be makom on the bamais, right? So they sprayed the blood, they consumed the meat, they burned the imurim, but in the mizbeach hapnimi, you only had 1. You only had the spray of the blood. You didn't have the achilas abasa. It was not. The 2 of them were not fit to be done in the mizbeach hapnimi, and for pigul to take place, that it should be pigul has to be a place where it's shy to have all 3, and so therefore, if he had in mind of the blood that belongs for the chitzin to go into the pnimi. It has to, on the mizbeach, you have to be able to burn the emurim, to eat from the basa, right, and to spray the blood. To spray the blood, they did by the pareiches or whatever. That's all 3. So if you don't have those 3, then the din of pigul doesn't. There's no din of pigul there.
Only when you have 3 conditions. Right.
In fact, you want to meet later. Rabbi Yehuda Haisvara does. Rabbi Yehuda hold of this svara. You need these 3 in order that the pigul should take place. Rabbi Yehuda says in the pasuk, it says davara. What does it say? L'sizbach laHashem lekecha shoyvaseh asher yibaymum kol davara, kol davara. Riba kan. What does he come to include? Azhara, warning chatas sheshachata bedarim. A chatas has to be gishachten in the tzafin in the north of the Azhara, like we said before. But he did it on darim. That darim is after the ramp. Tzafin is from the ramp to the schlachthuis where they slaughtered all the rings on the floor. That was the tzafin side. So he did it to the darim. So the halacha is that it's possible. The chatos shenichnas dama lefnim, and the chatos that was yishachten avanas to bring the blood inside the heichal. It says psula. It's possible. So Rabbi Yehuda
Which blood is he talking about?
Blood of the mizbeach hachitzay, and he brought it inside the heichal. It becomes psula. So you see over here, Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's possible. So Mashavas should also be possible. And he doesn't hold it.
Before he said it doesn't affect
So it says
actuality.
Then Mashava won't help. But here it does.
Here it is.
And now he's going to ask you to reverse. The last later, Rabbi Yehuda Shlishi. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of this concept for people to take place. You need 3. But now we learned the Fedish in the Mishnah. But Rabbi Yehuda, Hichnis, if the Kohen brought the Dam Chatas of Chitzoyna, where did he bring it into the Heichel? B'Shoigeg, kosher. It's going to be kosher. But is the Pnimi, is the Mizbeach Pnimi. But what if he brought it in B'Mezid? Then it's possible. The Kaimalon, and we said we concluded there, Bishachipa, only after he sprayed the blood. The Pearl Mamish, what do you see from here? Says, you want to hashta now, Ma Hasm Aili Aila. Madoch over there, when he brings the dam b'pearl mamash to the heichal, Rabbi Yehuda says, keeper only if he sprayed the blood in, then the chatas inside. If he sprayed the blood of the cup inside,
When he wasn't supposed to.
so then it'll be possible. But Eloi keeper. But if he just brought it in, that's what we're talking about in the Mishnah.
No, but he didn't do any
He didn't do the spraying of the blood, the gemar of the spraying the blood. Eloi keeper. Why we call it the word keeper? Because that's what is mechapa, the blood. So if he didn't spray the blood, here he says mefesh. Im loy nasam. Eloi keeper means im loy nasam midamal mizbeach hapnimi. It means if he didn't take the blood and spray it, that's what completes the aveda. If he didn't do it, he just had the machshava to bring it inside, or he brought it inside. Loy, he's not. It's not going to be possible. So if it's not going to be possible, madoch. In actuality, if he brought it, it's not going to be possible. The chashuv hearing where he didn't bring it in. So now give it a machshava. Like kol shekain for sure it shouldn't become possible. That's by Aveda, correct? So here we got a problem. We have a stira. Rabbi Yehuda in one place says that you need mishulish, that you needed that it should be all three requirements in order that pigel shall help. And one place it says not. It says you want to trade tanoi. There's two tanaim according to Rabbi Yehuda. The tana of the previous brayso, Rabbi Yehuda says the machshava of achnasa b'fnim is gonna passel it, and this brayso, this last brayso that we said, it won't, because we play mamsh, it doesn't passel. It doesn't become passel. If somebody brought it in,
Anyway with Rabbi Yehuda. You say it's the other guy, right?
You say it's two people. In the Shita Rabbi Yehuda. Huh? That's b'sheg. Yeah. Even if he brought a b'mezid, if he didn't do the spraying of the blood, I think he said b'mezid. You're right. B'mezid, it's possible. Yeah, if he brought it in b'mezid, it's going to be possible. Yeah.
Even if he didn't do any.
Right. But here we're talking about b'sheg. Everything is b'sheg. Right. B'mezid is going to be possible. Like when it was Saba Rabbi Yehuda, shechat v'doren yehei chayav. He said it in this brayso. He brought down. Part of the brayso said there was a din. If he took the chatos, instead of shechting it on the tzofin side, he's shechting on the darm side. Says Yemari, I wish I had a picture, but the way it was set up, the mizbeach was like here with the ramp. This was done. From here till here was the tzofin, and they said from the line, from the end of the mizbeach, you make a line. That's where tzofin starts. That's where the shlachtois was. That's where the rings were. They put they shechted the animals. That was the tzofin side. So what did he do? He did it on the wrong side. So that's what he says. Yehei chayv the sheikh.
Tzofin is always right of Mizrach, right?
Tzofin is the
right of Mizrach?
right of Dunham. Tzofin Dunham.
Yeah.
Tzofin is north.
Tzofin is north.
So you're looking at Mizrach, right?
So Mizrach Hamayim, but Tzofin and Dunham.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
Okay.
you.
If you're looking at Mizrach, it's up and it's south. It's on the left side.
North. Tzofin is north. Okay, so if I think about Tanya, you're saying it's going to be chayv. The sheikh is going to be chayv malchus. But Tanya, we learned from the brayso, Rabbi Yehuda Eimer, Yachal Chata Sheshechata, B'Darim Yehei Chayiv. You would have thought that somebody who shachs achatas in B'Darim is going to be the sheikh is going to be chayv malchus. Talmud Leimi comes the pasuk says, "Le'siz bach la'Hashem alakach Hashem Yisrael v'geima kol davara al davara." That means only on a revealed mum, which is disgusting. At mechayve you mechayve malchus. But v'yata mechayve al chatz sheshachat v'darim. That's not a mum begilui. What did he do already? On the wrong direction. He didn't do anything like drastic. A mum is shechting something.
So you're about a lav if he shechts it, Jesus in Durham, right?
She shouldn't be. The lav, the pasuk is emphasizing what kind of a lav. Yeah, but what? On kol davar ra. So he says, what's ra? Something that's visible, like a mum. Not directions. Directions is not. So that's his kasha. And before we said he is Chai Malchus, and here he uses a pasuk to say he's not going to be Chai Malchus. Again, Trei Tanoi Alib Rabbi Yehuda. You have two shitas in Rabbi Yehuda. It's like the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yabba, Umayt Rabbi Yehuda. So here we have. You have to remember the Gemara from before we had. Tzvei Tanoi in Rabbi Yehuda. Or Tzvei Amaroi. Tzvei Tanoi. So over here we said if there's two machshavas, one cancels the other. If you have a machshavas pigul, one machshavas pigul, and then you have another kind of machshava that passels, right? so it can't become pigul. Even another machshava is like you had in mind to shelve the blood for tomorrow. That's not pigul. Pigul is only if it has to do chutz lizman to spray the blood, but to eat, but not. He says, I'm going to hold the blood for another week. Or I'm going to eat this meat for, I have in mind, I'm making a bris, so I'm going to hold this meat. Forget about eating the carbon when in time. My son had a baby. There's we'll take it to Bushkill in a week from now. So we don't have, so these are things. So it's psul, it's puzzle, it's psul. Plus he had the mind of pigul, so the pigul gets cancelled. So Rabbi Yehuda says it depends which direction. If it was possible before, he had a machshavas psul before, he had in mind that the meat, if of this shchita I'm going to eat later, then he has in mind I'm going to spray the blood after this man. So then it's not pigul, according to Rabbi Yehuda, because there was a psul already before. But if it was the reverse, the pigul happened first. He had in mind he's going to spray after the allotted time, and that's pigul. And then later on he has in mind, I'm going to shelf these meats or this blood for a week from now. So that's, the psul came after the pigul, so it's pigul. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. So that's one shita. Rabbi Abba learns differently. Rabbi Yehuda says a carbon that was geshachten on the condition to hold the blood till after for a while, or the meat for a while. And then shechayze v'kayve lepigul. And then he has in mind the pigul. He says he's going to be chayiv kares. It's still going to be pigul. Rava said, take the halbing haraya that the machshavas hinuach or the machshavas hoitzah that he has in mind to take it out from the Beis Hamikdash, the pigul, it's going to be pigul because it's going to be pigul.
That's what Rabbi Yehuda said, no? In the Mishnah.
What? Shamachshavas hinuach hayitzol Rabbi Yehuda shreinis machshavas chutz from kain shleik l'shma from Pesach. Hamayna says, okay, psul, if it would have been another type of a pigul, like he had in mind the wrong kavanah by a Pesach and a Chatos, which is also one of the inyanim that make it pigul. So one pigul will cancel the other, and it doesn't. You're not chayiv kares. But over here, it was a psul, not a pigul the psul. It was a psul. So it was that he's holding the blood. Stamasay. So the pigul lefnei zika v'leikul. He said the klal yishnal pigul without zika is 0. The asya zika v'kavala pigul. Only after the zika, then it becomes pigul. So he says, take pigul alone. You have the regular psul with pigul mixed in it. Because what is pigul? He had in mind to spray the blood after the allotted time, right? But in that time, he was going to hold the blood for longer than he was supposed to.
That was his mashal.
So that was mashal. He's going to hold the blood for longer to spray it after the allotted time. So you see, it's still called pigul, even though in the pigul you have included the psul of holding on to the blood. Because automatically you have to hold on to the blood.
He's not holding on to blood to spray.
He's holding. No, I'm just talking a regular pigul. He's holding on to blood to spray it, but the etzem holding on to the blood already right away becomes
He
puzzle.
holds on to the blood to spray, and it's
To spray, but the spray he's not chayiv right away from pigul. Pigul doesn't happen until if he actually sprays the blood.
Okay.
The holding on already, the psul happened.
Okay.
So you see, even though the psul happened first, because he has to be holding on the blood to be able to spray it after a lot of time. And it's still called pigul. So you have a raya, even though the psul happened before pigul, it's still called pigul. So it's not true. There by pigul, it was one machshava. He had in mind to hold the blood to spray it. But it was the same one machshava. It was one machshava to hold the blood to spray it. It wasn't two separate machshavas. He had two separate machshavas. One machshava, he had 1 minute, for 5 minutes he had a machshava. You know what? I want to hold the blood for a week. And then then he has a new machshava. You know, I'm going to also take that blood and I'll spray it after the week. That's two separate machshavas. Maybe in such a case, it sounds similar, but maybe it won't be pigul. If he had machshav, the blood that had to go l'mayla was l'mata or l'mata l'mayla. Lalta, if he does it right away, it's kosher because we said shalei b'mkeimer kim b'mkeimer im chaz v'chishul chutz yeah chaz v'chishul achar kaf ma'avid achar esleicha chutz b'mkeimer. If he had now in mind a case of pigel to eat it outside l'mkeimer puzzle, it's pasmein by cutters. There's no cutters. Chutz l'zman and he didn't have in mind to eat it chutz l'mkeimer pigel v'chayav malach cutters yechayiv cutters because by chutz l'mkeimer he holds. But if it's chutz lizmanoi, then we'll have a din of pigel.
We had a Mishnah one there, no?
Yeah, and you're chayv karetz. Says the Gemara, what's if lamach? He had in mind to spray the blood in the wrong place, but after this man, puzzle. Because chaz v'chishul chutz lizmanoi bein chutz l'mekayimai, or bein chutz lizmanoi bein chutz l'mekayimai. If he had in mind afterwards to eat it sai chutz lizmanoi or sai chutz l'mekayimai, possible. Ain't by karetz. And there is no din of kares because there you're talking about two psulim of pigol. So if it's two psulim of, I'm sorry, now chutz l'mekayimai chaz v'chishuv bein chutz l'zmani bein chutz l'mekayimai, the carbon is pasul chutz l'zmani, but to shelf it for a long time or to bring it out of the Beis Hamikdash. So and then he had a machshava pigol, so he says there's no kares. So, and Rabbi Adler, we just brought a knife from Rabbi Adler Rababa. He holds that if there was a psul and then came pigul, right, that it would become pigul. And here you see he holds that it won't become pigul. To Yufta the Rabbi Adler, it's a kasha stira on Rabbi Adler Rabba, how he explains. Rabba to Yufta is a good to Yufta. Yes, we're gonna have to stop over here.
No, we can,
He had in mind that the Tmeim will eat it tomorrow. Chayev, the one who eats from it, is Chayev Karetz because of pigol. And we don't say since Achilas Tmeim, even Bizmana is Achilas Sheinaruya. So it's like he had in mind a Machshavas Psul, aside from the Machshavah pigol. So it should make it Ois pigol. Nevertheless, we say no. Pigul takes place. The Isa pigul is there. Rabbi said, I'll bring a raya. The basel of nezika, the meat of a carbon before spraying the blood, loy chazi, is not oil achila, because only the zika makes it mutal achila. But before the zika was asa, abichil, mechash be mivsel. Nevertheless, when he has a machshavas psul on the blood, it becomes pigul, even though it wasn't oil lechatchila. So you see that we made a raya that even though it was not fit before, the zika, and then he has a machshavas pigul, the pigul takes place. The pigul takes an effect. Says he can't compare the two. Hasam zarik mechazi. By the bus before the zika, yeah, you're right. The bus before the zika was not fit, but after the zika would become fit. Hacha by the tmeim sheyachlu. Even after the zika, if it was good, it wouldn't be fit for them to eat it. So you can't compare it. It was a custom in the mouths of the bus of the pesach that was not roasted. And the lachme do a 40 lachmim, 4 different categories of 10. So 4 of it, 1 from each category would go to Kahanim, and they didn't give it to the Kahanim. The one who eats is going to be chayiv, betuma is going to be chayiv as eating tuma as a tameh bekachim. Rabba said, I'll bring Haraya, Tanya, that we learned in the Braisa, one who eats Kedesh betum saguf, Asher Hashem. It says, Anav Asher Tuich Basa, Zevachim Shlamim, Asher Hashem Tumasa, Allah, Nichus Anav Shahid Me'amah. The word Asher Hashem are extra. To tell you, even Kachim Kalim is going to be Tumah, almost as we see. Even though they're not road to be eaten for, even for Adam Tahir, Chayab Malay Mishum Tumah. If it's eaten with Tumas Aguf, you're going to be chayiv of eating kach with Tumas Aguf since they are came Lashem. Chanami here too. I forgot the even though the Psar Pesach Shalei Nitzla wasn't roasted, or the Chalas Teda that was not separated for the Kayin, is not, and therefore it's not but lachilas adam tire. Nevertheless, chayav alam mishum tumah. They're going to be chayiv on it because of if a tamei ate from it as a tamei eating from hagdish. It's not a pure pasam. Even though it's a lighter kachim, it's fit to be burnt on the mizbeach. And the pest that was not roasted, and the lachmei tameh that they didn't take from the four categories, four breads, giving to they didn't give it to as a truma to the kayin. They didn't give it to the kayin. The leichazel leila hedget. It's not fit even for the mizbeach. Not for hagdish, no, meaning not for the mizbeach, nor for a regular person. We know sacrificial parts are not ready for a person to eat. And nevertheless, the Bryce is telling us that you're going to be, if a tamei ate from it, it's going to be over onto goof that's eating kachim. Says it's not similar. Hana chazah milsa. The emudim sacrificial parts are really that to be for aktorah on the mizbeach for hani, but the psa pesach shleinitzla and the chalas seda wasn't separated as for to give it to the kain like chazak klal, and not fit, not for the mizbeach either, and not for a hedget.